Welcome to the New Warehouse Podcast, the podcast for those that are curious about what's possible inside their four walls. Before we get into this episode, let's hear a word from our sponsors that make this all possible. Ready to modernize your operations? It's time to partner with Peak Technologies. As North America and Europe's largest system integrator, Peak delivers end-to-end digital supply chain and enterprise mobility solutions across warehousing, logistics, and manufacturing. With over 40 years of expertise, they design, deploy, and manage the technology that modernizes your facilities, driving measurable operational performance. As a premier Zebra Technologies partner, Peak combines deep AI DC expertise with industry-leading devices, machine vision, and automation to deliver scalable, future-ready solutions. Trust Peak Technologies to power your digital transformation and head to peaktech.com. That's peaktech.com. Are you looking to grow sales this year? Strategic Marketing Communications can help you do that. For more than a decade, Master Plans Communications, Marketing, and PR has been building awareness and creating demand for material handling companies. MPC offers strategic marketing and PR planning, media relations, video productions, photography, websites, digital marketing, social media, and more. Connect with MPC at masterplancommunications.com and on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast and are looking for more content around warehouse automation, then check out TGW Logistics' new podcast, The Automation Journey. TGW is a customer-first, holistic warehouse automation company, and they understand that every journey of exploring, implementing, and maintaining automation looks different. In their podcast, they touch on all different topics and questions you may be facing right now. Whether you're brand new to automation or a seasoned vet, find the automation journey today on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. As we all know, in most yard operations, technology isn't the problem. Execution is. The workforce turns over faster than processes can stabilize. Outsourced vendors manage tasks, not outcomes. Costs rise while service levels slip. Safety issues are a constant, and leadership still lacks a clear, consistent view of yard performance across the network. Yard management systems were supposed to bring control, but the truth is that software alone can't enforce process discipline, develop labor, or manage equipment day to day. That's why many enterprise shippers are shifting to YMX Logistics. YMX Logistics is a national third-party logistics provider focused exclusively on yard operations. YMX manages yards as an operating system, aligning people, processes, equipment, safety, sustainability, and technology into an integrated operation. So, if you are interested in learning how you can optimize your operations while improving sustainability and lowering your total operating costs, visit ymxlogistics.com/next. That's ymxlogistics.com/next. Thank you to our sponsors, and now let's get to the podcast.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by the president, CEO, and co-founder of G10 Fulfillment. That is Mark Becker, and we are going to talk a little bit about his operations, what he's got going on, what he's learned, and how he's evolved his business over time, the 3PL business. And we're also going to get his perspective on the fulfillment industry in general heading into this new year of 2026. And they also recently invested in some robotics as well. So we're going to hear about what went into that and how that's been and how that's impacted the business and everything about that, because I think people are looking at that, and we love to get the real world experience and learn from that. So Mark is going to join us today to discuss all of those things. So Mark, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we are full into the world of robotics, but looking forward to talking about that a little later. I think,
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
well, I'll hold off, but my excitement is there. I can tell you that.
All right, definitely. I'm excited to get to that part too. But let's learn a little bit about your business first, right? So you are the co-founder of G10 Fulfillment. So I guess tell us a little bit about what is G10 Fulfillment, and tell us a little bit about how you got started in the business.
Yeah. So, at the heart of it, we are a 3PL, and we have warehouses in Wisconsin, Charleston, Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. That's purposeful. We put those warehouses in those geographic locations so that we could, ship with UPS and FedEx pretty much anywhere in the country. In Zone 3, 2-day. It's really following that Amazon footprint. So we have this ability to do some pretty quick and cheap direct to consumer delivery, and then we also do full B2B compliant shipments. We're shipping truckloads of product to Walmart, Lowe's, Amazon. So we really look at ourselves as a partner to manufacturers in helping them scale. And we kind of take on the warehouse and operations side and let them focus on sales and marketing.
Good. And I think that's the way to do it, right? To be the experts on that side. And tell us a little bit about why'd you start G10 Fulfillment?
So I was an early adopter of Amazon, and I'll keep this quick. So in college, I was buying books, and I was in,
sure. Okay.
97, 98, 99 kind of. And then I went to work for Milwaukee Tools, and a colleague of mine got the job to sell Milwaukee Tools to Amazon. And this is like in 2004, 2005. Amazon was trying to go from being the bookstore to the everything store. Okay. And it was really Brian, my buddy, who called me up one day and was like, hey, with what about buying and selling products, Amazon needs someone to help them go from a bookstore to the everything store, but they can't convince all these manufacturers to sell to them. So they really need someone to make it turnkey.
Okay.
Well, that was the precipice of G10. My first item I sold on Amazon was a MWF GE water filter. If you have a refrigerator that has a water dispenser, you're supposed to change out that filter every 6 months. And Amazon was not able to source this product at the price they needed. And they basically, I was able to get in a conversation where they challenged me, if you can get this thing for $23, we'll buy it for 24. And we already know, we could sell through $6 million worth of these in a year. So G10 was born. Yeah. And I did the first 5-6 years of the company in a distributor model. I actually took title to the product. And I was buying products from everyone from Nike Golf to Moen faucets, GE appliance parts. It was, Amazon was giving me just lists of brands that for one reason or another, they didn't have the right items set up, didn't have the right EDI feeds, didn't package the product correctly, had channel conflict. Whatever the reason was, they couldn't do business direct with this manufacturer. So I stepped in, got set up as a distributor, took title to the product, and then resold it. In 2014, I added a big part of our business, which is the 3PL. Okay. And that's really now what the business is split 50-50, but half of the business we do is where we actually take title to the product. The other half of the business is we are a 3PL. We don't take title to the product. We just partner with the manufacturer. But that's as fast as I tell the story of how I started the company.
Interesting. So now in present state, you're still doing distributor model on one side, and then you're doing fulfillment 3PL services on the other. Is that right?
We do. Yeah,
Okay,
that's correct.
interesting. And then from the fulfillment side, are you dealing with primarily B2B, primarily D2C, or it's a mix?
Yeah, I like to explain it as if it's something that will sell on Amazon outside of books,
Mm-hmm.
we will get involved in it. And
that's pretty wide net there.
It really is. I mean, so we do under a pound. We do shoebox size product, and we go all the way up to I'm shipping 0-turn lawnmowers. So the big lawnmowers that you ride on.
That's big. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm shipping multiple 0-turn lawnmowers every day through the Amazon channel.
So people are buying lawnmowers on Amazon. Is that right?
Yes, they are in a astounding number.
Oh my God. I would never even think to look on Amazon for a lawnmower. That's very interesting to hear that though.
Well, when you think about it though, it actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, going to a physical retail store, one of the biggest problems with buying a lawnmower that size is getting it home.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Yeah.
And we deliver it right to the door. So that is something we do in a drop ship model where, the sale occurs. We are shipping it right to the consumer. You don't even know it came from G10. We do it on behalf of either, the manufacturer or Amazon. And it's a really neat program. It's the fastest program we have right now in the entire company. Fastest growing company, part of the company. Here we go.
Yeah. Interesting. And very interesting on the lawnmowers too there. I learned something today. And I also understand that you guys handle hazmat too as well. So tell us a little bit about that program.
So it's a little hand in hand with the lawnmowers, right? We've always done hazmat, and probably even 8-9 years ago, we put in a lot of training on lithium-ion batteries, just because some of our customers were getting products that had lithium-ion batteries. And what that then turned into is a program we do with Amazon and Walmart, where we are basically their hazmat warehouse. So if you have, and most specifically where we play fully regulated hazmat is where we, that's our sandbox. And what that means in the lithium ion world is 300 watt hour or larger. Anything under that, most people can handle that type of shipping. Anything over that, you have to have specially trained warehouse employees. You have to make sure you got all your ducks in a row and product is labeled the right way and you have the right relationships with the carriers. There's a whole nother level of compliance to handle that 300 watt hour lithium ion battery and larger. So we do that at a very large scale. And that is lawnmowers, right now, snow blowers, but there's also power generators and, different things that fall under that class of product.
Interesting. And I'm guessing too, I mean, you got a couple buildings as you said, right? But I'm guessing you got some pretty good square footage if you're moving a lot of lawnmowers and snowblowers, right?
Yeah. It's part of the reason we, kind of won this project and executed as well as we do is because we have the strategically located warehouses across the country, because it's really expensive, that last mile of shipping for lawnmowers.
I'm sure.
But our warehouses, are 140,000 square feet plus.
Okay.
Just depending on, kind of where we are in the journey of, and we're always adding. I mean, if there's one thing I make sure of when we get into our leases in these different geographic areas, that we're getting in with landlords that have the ability to grow with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. And interesting to hear all about the kind of the inner workings of the business and your model there and how you operate a little bit. And now, over time, because it sounds like you've been in the business now for about 27, 28 years, I guess you said like 98, 99. So tell us a little bit, what are some of the, especially on the 3PL side, like what are some of the kind of biggest lessons that you've learned over that time from doing this?
So being flexible has been our number one kind of, I think, the reason we've succeeded. So, we control our own tech stack, and, times we've gone back and forth on that. And what I mean by we control our own tech stack is our CTO, COO actually wrote our warehouse management system.
Okay.
It's supported now by a third-party company, but he obviously knows it inside and out, and we're able to customize it really quickly. We then, on top of that, put our own integration platform. We call it Channel Point, but essentially that is our own APIs and EDI integrations and all like flat file sharing. So the transferring of information and data between big retailers like Walmart and Amazon, and then turning it around and getting that information then pushed out to our customers is all handled 100% in-house. And that's what's allowed us as Shopify and Amazon and Walmart have kind of been inventing what this looks like over the last 15 years. Changes happen quick. A big one at Amazon right now is, they no longer want to prep products in their FBA model.
Right.
And they no longer want to hold on to any inventory that's not going to move.
Sure.
So they basically penalized sellers for doing either of those things. And we have the ability to react really quick to that and talk to all of our customers and say, well, hey, let's pivot to an FBM model where, maybe just your really high-end SKUs, your A+ movers stay in the FBA model, put everything else in an FBM model. Oh, by the way, if you do have large enough sales, we can put it in multiple warehouses we have, and you can get seller fulfilled prime on still a decent amount of the country by just strategically placing your inventory. But it's those strategy meetings are so important to make sure you're kind of seeing what Amazon and Walmart and Lowe's, all the big guys are doing so that you can be a little ahead of the game and not get surprised or caught in a situation where they make a change and you can't make one to match it.
Yeah, interesting. And I think that is such a interesting point there. And we actually just recently did a podcast talking about the Amazon prep coming to an end and that kind of evolving thing, and having that, great partner like yourself, like to be able to be more flexible than an Amazon wants to be, right? And be able to be kind of that buffer to help alleviate some of those pain points, I think is really a great thing, and great call out on the flexibility there. And now, and you mentioned you've kind of built out your own tech stack in-house, right? And how that's kind of worked. Now, I'm curious, what made you choose to do that versus getting another software? Like, as you were building this company and you decided, let's build our own WMS instead of going and getting another one. What was the decision there, and what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so it more just happened than me making this wonderful strategy idea.
Sure.
But I'll take you through it real quick. Yeah. Is when we were going from being a distributor. This was like 2014. We wanted to add the 3PL model, and the current software we were using couldn't do both. You couldn't have owned inventory and not owned inventory in the same warehouse management system. It was just the tool we were using didn't do it. So I had to go shopping. And that's where I landed on getting RWMS. They had a relationship with our ERP system already. So those hooks were already in. That was probably the biggest reason I went with them. And Brian Wright, who is now my CTO and COO, he had already sold the business, and he was at that point was working for them. So he helped implement it. And by just total chance, he lived 15 minutes from me. And he even kind of joked around, I've never had an implementation this close to my house. So after he was through his, kind of earn out and what he had with his software, we'd always stayed in touch, and he ended up coming to work at G10. And that was like, I forget what year it was, but he was really the point where I thought, oh my goodness, we can scale this thing to as big as we want. We have the ability to build all of our own tech. He's done it before. He kind of has the resume of all resumes in, working with big companies like Jockey and Tyson and helping them with their warehousing needs. We were able to bring on a lot of his team that built that WMS. And that's the team now that builds our integrations and works on Channel Point, our own software. Okay. And, but to make it just really clear and quick, when we hired Brian, that was when we said we can own our own tech.
Interesting. So he actually started external, and this WMS was external, and then he came in and then started building more, kind of like on top of that. I think interesting, and great happenstance, right? That you live 15 minutes away from you. I mean, that's perfect, right? Definitely can't ask for that better path there. So really interesting to learn about that. And now from a technology perspective, you all recently invested in some robotics solutions. So tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of came about.
So as I said at the beginning, I couldn't be more excited to talk about that new endeavor we've done. We've really, since the company started, we've done all the things like automatic box makers, and we've done automatic tape machines. We've put in automation that you've seen in a lot of warehouses, but none of it really, in my opinion, got to robotics, right? So we had, over the last 5 years, Brian and I have actually toured a couple of facilities that were using 6 Rivers.
Okay. Sure.
And another one called Locus.
Yeah.
We couldn't land on the fact that would it be flexible enough for our needs? Because as you hear, I think it's so important for us to be flexible for our customer and to be able to react for our customer.
Yeah.
And those robots, I would call them picking robots, right? It's essentially a robot that drives around the warehouse, and there's a cart built on top of the robot that you put bins on, and you pick off the bins. But the robots do a lot of the walking. That's the big savings in the 6 Rivers and Locus.
Sure.
But what we didn't like was we couldn't reconfigure the carts. You were kind of stuck with one size.
Yeah.
And when Zebra came out with their robots, they were decoupled from the cart. So they actually look like if you've ever seen the Amazon Kiva robot, it drives, looks like a big hockey puck. It drives underneath the cart. It engages the cart, and you can have it engage with any type of cart. And that was that, and a couple of other reasons were the big reasons we picked Zebra. We launched it, probably 6 months ago. And for the last 3 months, we've been really using it heavy, and then we used it for peak. We could not have been more happy with the performance. Our pick times, were sometimes more than 3 times faster than without the robots. And it also has an AI component of learning better pick paths every day, right? So, it's kind of combining this new AI world with robotics, humans. I've been out in the warehouse giving so many tours and watch it.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun. Like the robots, they're autonomous driving, and they just drive these carts around you to the next pick spot. A picker was already waiting in that location. They pick the product, put it in the bin. The robot drives away to the next location. The robot knows when all the carts are full, and it drives it back to the pack station, where at that point, a packer, a human pulls the product off of the robot carts, and the robot goes and finds another cart and goes back out to find more pickers. And it was just this really neat dance of people working with robots and machines that when you're in the warehouse and it's all happening around you, it's impressive. It just is. So with all that said, it's public news, but the Zebra is actually looking at moving on from the robots. But so we'll see where that takes us. There's a lot of stuff that we put in that even with or without the robots will make us a lot faster and smarter picking. We'll see where this goes. We though are big believers in that the robots kind of proved out to us that they do get rid of a lot of the walking time. Mm-hmm. So it'll be our goal as we kind of navigate this with Zebra to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so as you said, we're recording this just over the last week. That news has come out, right? That Zebra's winding down that part of the business. But very interesting to hear kind of like why you went after that and kind of the discovery process there too. And I guess hearing you talk about your operations, and it sounds like you have a pretty wide range of products that you deal with, right? Like having that flexibility, like you said, on the cart part, especially, or the shelving part, right? That's going along with that robot is certainly, I can imagine, a big factor for you. So I'm curious, like, what were some of kind of like the results once you started implementing there? You said like you really started heavily using it over the last 3 months and during peak as well. So, what kind of improvements or gains did you see from that?
Yeah. So what I'll hit on first isn't like a picking measurement, but one of the things I was most concerned with was how my employees would react to it.
Sure.
You're worried about the idea of people saying like you're taking our jobs or you're replacing us. That was the furthest from the truth of the reaction I got. Like almost to an employee, they were like, wow, this makes my job easier. It's amazing. It's exciting to be around. The ability to be accurate and fast was apparent that it improved. And really quickly, you could tell that it was, almost how they talk about AI right now, where, they don't always talk about it this way, but it can add on to what you already have. It's just a plus one more than sometimes taking over an entire job. That's really how the robots felt, in that it was just allowing us to do more faster with the employees we had. We really didn't, it wasn't like we turned into a dark warehouse where it's just robots going around with no people. No, you still have to have people picking, you still have to have people packing, and it just made us better and faster. Now, on the metric side of what was better and faster was both, there's kind of two main points, right? Accuracy and speed.
Sure.
The speed where you win is two places for us. One was the obvious one of just a cart driving all the way out into the aisles. And then when it's finished getting picked, having a person have to push it all the way back to the packing. So that entire walk time is now gone. A picker just is in the aisle and they never leave the aisles. They're almost in a zone. And then the robots drive to them, and the robots are taking care of all those steps. The second piece was, we were calling it federated picking, but it was essentially getting rid of just doing what I'd call a traditional snake pattern through the aisles.
Okay. Yeah.
So the way our system did work, someone would get a cart, 30 orders to the cart. They start walking up and down the aisle in a snake pattern, and they pick the order as fast as that path allows them to. If you think about with the robots, we didn't have to live in those constrictions anymore. Now you can basically tell you can ingest 3,000 orders into the system and tell the robots, go pick this the fastest way possible without congesting the aisles and with keeping the pickers busy, optimally busy. And now the carts, instead of going through as a snake, it might go into an aisle, then back out of the aisle into the next aisle, but it's just doing this huge math problem to make sure that the orders are getting picked in the most efficient way possible. So the result of that was, picking speeds at 3x what we were used to. So we were picking, depending on what the product was, 35 to 45 orders an hour. Now we're seeing 100 plus orders per hour.
Oh, wow. That's a big gain. Yeah.
A huge gain.
Yeah.
On the accuracy side, right, we already, we're talking decimals here, but by putting the robots in and doing, so now they're hands-free. Our old system had a scan gun, so this also improved in the fact that we went to a wrist unit with a finger scanner and a little more visibility with the wrist to see what you're picking, where you're putting it, what bin it's supposed to go in. So, we even saw an uptick, a slight uptick in our accuracy, which was just great to see, because I was worried with working this fast, will we see a decrease in accuracy? Yeah. We actually saw a little bit of an increase, which was great.
Yeah, it's fantastic to hear. And I love because I was going to ask you, what did your previous picking situation look like? You just described it in there. So interesting to see that change, right? And the, as you called it, the federated picking, right? Kind of picking the optimal path and thinking in ways that probably the typical human would not think, right? To travel in certain ways. So with that, you went from kind of doing these S-Pass with the pickers picking or pushing carts right down the aisles to pick the items. Now, did this move them into more of like More like a zone pick kind of situation?
That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
I say it this way. So I always used to explain to people when they would come into the warehouse, this is before robots. So this is just when we were doing the S pattern.
Sure.
I would say we're a smart grocery store. Like if I was trying to explain it to someone who didn't understand warehouses, and I'd say in no situation, the system tells you the smartest pattern to walk through the aisles, but you would never pick ketchup and then go all the way to the other end of the warehouse and pick milk and go, oh, I forgot mustard. The system doesn't allow you to do it. Now, with that being said, you'd have to walk, potentially the entire warehouse to pick both ketchup, mustard, and milk. With the new system, those will probably never get picked together because the system can ingest so many more orders that the robots are already being smarter about how they build the carts and saying these 30 orders are going to live over by ketchup and mustard. We'll come up with another 30 orders to go send over by milk. Then on top of it, let's say it gets to the point where there's not enough orders and there is a cart that's going to have to pick, ketchup and milk. In the old system, if they were both on the front of the aisle, in the old system, it would have forced someone to pick the ketchup, walk down the entire aisle, all the way down the back of the warehouse, and then back up the entire far aisle to go grab the milk. This is smart enough to go, you don't need to walk down the entire aisle. It's a faster walking path to walk back out of the aisle, head down that lane, grab the milk, and you just saved yourself a ton of steps. One of the interesting math problems we came up with, in doing all this is we said, okay, can we come up with how much time a second is worth, a second of savings? So in our processes, if we can find a repeatable second to save, and the math we came up with was for every, I might be a little off, but the point of it was like for every 4,500 orders we ship, for every second we save is worth $3,000 throughout the course of the year.
A second's pretty good.
So you start going, man, we just got to save seconds. That's the industry we're in. Like it actually matters. Every step matters. At the pack stations, every movement matters. And if you can, put in an SOP that reduces packing a product from 40 seconds down to 30 seconds, you got to do it. You got to get the SOPs in place to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, seconds lead to minutes, and minutes lead to hours, and just like cents lead to dollars, and so on and so on. Right. So, I mean, those seconds definitely do count and make a huge difference, especially over like, as you stack them up exponentially on high volume, like you really see that time saving. So really interesting to hear your experience there and how you kind of went about that. So now let's talk a little bit about, we're recording this here at the end of 2025, and the listeners probably listening to this early 2026. But if we look back on the year 2025, what do you see as some of the things that were kind of trending in the fulfillment side of the business, and what do you think is going to be some of the top of mind things for 2026?
The big one, and you probably have full podcasts on this one, is AI.
Yeah. We can't do a podcast anymore without talking about AI. So yeah.
I mean, that's the big one. I was at a conference the other day, and they were talking about C.H. Robinson, and I don't have the exact numbers, but you can look it up. They had an unbelievable quarter. They made more millions than they've ever made, and they attributed the whole thing to they've been able to put in AI.
Oh, sure, I saw that.
To do jobs that were very repetitive, and that's been replaced by AI, and they made a ton of money because of it. So we don't have the scale C.H. Robinson does to just come in and put in a little AI to get rid of all of the, pick a process. But what we are doing is exploring all the different softwares that are out there and trying to figure out what does make sense for us. So we use NetSuite. NetSuite is our accounting system. Okay. And we've had 3 or 4 meetings already with them about AI tools that they are launching in 2026, which will just allow us to, bill faster, bill more accurately, potentially take that away from somebody having to do it. And for a company of my size, that's a big deal. Like if I can, get that person working on something else rather than just a redundant task they do over and over. So we've already found a few of those that AI can replace. In the warehousing side, I think I talked a little bit about it with the robotics. Is AI, we are now starting to use it, and it's in the software we're using to get smarter by itself. So in the past, if I wanted to improve a pick path, it would have been a team getting together, talking through what that math problem has to look like. And we would basically be rebuilding the algorithm, where today the goal is, no, the AI machine should be able to rebuild it itself.
Yeah.
That is what I'm looking forward to in 2026. I'd say in 2025, we talked about it, but we really didn't implement. We were just on the verge right there with Zebra of getting some of that stuff in place. But I think in 2026 is when we're going to start seeing the results of, smarter pick paths, better trackability. One of the things I keep thinking is from a customer dashboard of the visibility of things we should be able to give them with AI, giving, an entire data set and allowing a user to say something like, track the last 10 heaviest packages that shipped out in November. Like you should almost be able to come up with any sort of stat you want, and we should be able to give it to you, through a dashboard, I would think by the end of 2026.
Yeah. Interesting. And I think it's so interesting to see how these solutions are so kind of rapidly evolving with AI wrapped into them and tied into them. And very interesting to see how people are addressing some of these challenges that have been kind of, challenges for a long time, probably in the industry, but now all of a sudden it seems like they're just getting solved very, very quickly, right? Because of the ability to do these rapid iterations and things of that. So very interesting there, and really interesting to hear about kind of your journey with G10 and robotics as well, and building your own tech stack and how you're looking at different things in the industry here. So really appreciate you coming on the show, Mark, and talking with me, and fascinating to learn kind of your thinking behind some of these things. If people are interested in learning more from you or learning more about G10 fulfillment, what's the best way to do that?
Email me, mark@g10fulfillment.com. Love to answer any questions. Always looking to talk with potential new customers. So if you want to reach out, my email is the best. Otherwise, if you want to learn about the company, our website kind of has all of this information in it, www.g10fulfillment.com. Through there, you can see a couple other ways to contact us. But yeah, come visit our website.
All right, fantastic. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com, as well as in the show notes here for people to find out more about G10 fulfillment. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.